Welcome everybody to On Podcast, the On Microsoft podcast, where we talk about Microsoft stuff on a podcast. And I am no longer flying solo. We got some notes from management upstairs, and they don't want to see that ever again. So you guys are lucky. I have my co-host back. I think we had a great weekend last weekend. I'm Kareem. I'm joined by the world's greatest co-host again today.
Arif Bacchus.
Yeah, and we're here to bring you the news for this week in August, the last week before we get into September and probably the start of hardware season for a lot of companies. So we'll be talking a little bit about hardware, but mostly about software. And that's to kind of give you the rundown. I'll let Arif start.
We have some big news about the Windows 11 PC Health Check app. After Microsoft took it online, it's back and it's better than ever. So if you missed the news, we're here to recap that for you.
Yeah, and then we have some news on the Windows Insider program, kind of dovetailing from the Windows 11 PC Health Check app. Those kind of go hand in hand. So we'll get into that as well.
And then we also had Xbox at Gamescom a couple days ago, and there was a huge amount of news. I know Kareem watched the segment and the live stream, so we'll go back and forth and recap some of the new Xbox news coming out of that event.
And then we got some big news in the Windows front. It isn't about the operating system, but about the man in charge of curating that. We have notes about Panos being promoted. So we'll get into that and what that means for Microsoft and his future and the future of Windows and our future as users of Windows.
And last week you did the fast recap very fast, but now I'm back. So we're going to make it a 10-minute fast recap as I always would. And in those 10 minutes, we have like six different stories or so that we want to get to. We want to get to the White House and big tech promising to raise the bar in cybersecurity, Visual Studio community hitting the Microsoft Store on Windows 11, Windows 11 survey showing that people are warming up to the operating system, and one more story about researchers finding a security flaw in Microsoft Azure.
Yeah. So, I mean, just you mentioning that alone was probably 2 minutes. So we're going to have to put some extra time on the board for all those stories. Then we're going to come up with the week ahead. So if you've stuck with us this long, you're going to get a preview of what the end's like. And we'll be talking about Edge 94 moving to beta. So we'll get some new features for you people on the regular release pretty soon.
And we also have some more news about Microsoft Ignite and Microsoft Teams. And I'll let you get to the final part of week ahead, which is the Surface Duo 2.
Yeah, we have some late breaking news about the Surface Duo 2, and we have our friend Shane, friend of the pod, special guest sometimes, who's kind of helping us out, kind of navigate all this, and Windows Central as well. They have some obvious sources on the inside, so we'll talk about that too.
And with that said, let's get into the big news here, which is about the Windows 11 PC Health Check app. If you guys may recall, this was a way to check if your Windows 10 device or maybe even Windows 8.1 device could run Windows 11. And it was giving people all kinds of false positives about TPM and about secure boot and about the processor. And everyone was pissed. Microsoft took it offline and said, we're going to make it better. And a couple of months have passed since then, and now the app is back. And is one major big change to the app itself, and it's to ensure that the app will provide more, this is in Microsoft's words, quote unquote, clarity and accuracy in deciding if a Windows PC can run Windows 11. End of quote. So it's currently not available for everyone to download. Microsoft recommends for Windows insiders to test it out first on prospective devices that they might want to install Windows 11 on. And the biggest change in the app itself has to do with the eligibility check function. Microsoft says that the app now has more complete and improved messaging on eligibility for Windows 11. There's now links for supporting articles on if your PC fails the test. The app will tell you why and how you could fix it. Perhaps it would give you more information about a TPM chip or steps to turn on secure boot and all those other kind of issues that people had complained about in the past. So now they fixed the PC Health Check app and they're getting ready for, I would say, getting ready to release Windows 11 by helping people decide if they could run it or if they could not.
Yeah, some minor details of it is that it will now support 64-bit,
Yep,
32-bit for those
that's
people who still
also
have those
important.
devices for any reason. Windows 10 on ARM, as well as Windows 10 and S mode for PC. So It should any device that you're running Windows on, it should be able to at least tell you that you can't run Windows 11. Uh,
Yes.
all jokes aside, it's interesting that they're putting this much effort into the Windows 11 PC app check because I feel like that's a tool that's used by us in
Yeah.
the know for the most part. For those of us in the know, kind of know how to get around it. There's some news that came out, like breaking news about Microsoft basically allowing people to run an unauthorized version of Windows 11 anyway. Because I don't see too many, I don't see like, I hate to use the cliche of like your mom and pop or trying to upgrade to Windows 11. So I don't see any of your uninitiated friends on Windows saying, "Oh, let me run to the Windows PC app." They're either going to call you, or they're going to buy a new PC, or they're just going to try and hit update. So unless this is automatically triggered when the update is scheduled for Windows 11, I don't see getting that many views from people that it would normally help anyway. I'm only saying this to say that I appreciate their effort. I just don't know, how many people are going to see this app that really need it.
And speaking of needing it, they did make some minor changes to the tool itself and the minimum requirements. No, doesn't mean you could pick up a Pentium PC from 15 years ago and run Windows 11 on it for some strange odd reason. It just means that they added two new Intel 7th generation processors to the compatibility list. It's mainly to include the Surface Studio 2, which people were upset was excluded from running Windows 11. So we'll have these specific processors listed in the description and in the comments, and you could visit our site. But they're Core X processors, a Xeon W series processors, and a new Core i7 7080 20HQ processor. And Microsoft says the PC Health Check app will reflect these processors in results in the coming weeks before the tool hits general availability. Again, the tool is only for Windows Insiders right now. You need to go to the Windows Insider website to download it. But once they get feedback on it, they will roll it out to everyone else. So you could check to see if your PC can run Windows 11. And speaking of, they also mentioned in their blog post that those who can't upgrade to Windows 11, they say that Windows 10, quote unquote, is still the right choice. That's because Windows 10 will be supported through 2025, and it's going to be getting its own featured update later this year. And like Kareem hinted at, you might not be out of the woods, left in the dark completely because the Microsoft told The Verge today in an article that users with unsupported PCs will still be able to install Windows 11, but at their own risk using ISO files. Now, I tried this out and I downloaded the most recent Windows 11 ISO that you could get from the insider page, and it didn't work. It wouldn't let you. It still has all of the blocks. I'm assuming this means once Windows 11 hits the finished portion where it's in public and it's no longer being beta tested. Could this be what they're referring to?
Possibly. It's interesting that they specifically mentioned ISOs because I felt like this would have been a rolling update that most of us insiders have kind of moved from Windows 7 in the beta forms to Windows
Right.
8, from Windows 8 insiders to Windows 10, and from Windows 10 to 11. Like none of us who have been doing that have had any official updates. Like this isn't an
Right.
out of box experience. We've just been rolling from one to the next and keep going over. So if you're testing Windows 11 on a device that may be TPM 2.0 and hindered, what they're saying is you'll probably still be able to get new updates. You just won't get all the security features. You may not be able to, if they do any branching, you may be left in dust at that point. If they branch off to something else where they lock down maybe the Android App Store testing and stuff like that, you'll be left with whatever version of the insider build you're using. But this is again, like you said, a way to kind of run Windows 11 without having to necessarily have the device or the specs to meet that it needs necessarily to run an official version.
The note mentioned that it was primarily for businesses to evaluate Windows 11, so it's not something that they would put in big bold print,
Yeah,
upgrade to Windows 11 on any device you want. It's mainly for evaluation purposes, and I assume there would probably be more caveats with it that they're
I was
not
going to say
advertising.
because
Yeah,
of all the caveats I mentioned just in that sentence alone,
yeah.
this is probably why they're saying like you need to know what you're doing. Again, for most insiders, we do know what we're doing. And with that being said, our next topic is actually about insider builds. I mean, as much as we talked
Yeah.
about Windows 11, it's still not finished. So that's what this next topic is, where we're discussing Windows Insider Program status. We have gone this week, I think it is the first one of the first weeks we haven't had a build
Oh, there was a
come
build.
out.
There was a build. There was a build
Oh,
today, and it was the eighth build, and it brought changes to the Microsoft Store as well as a new Microsoft
well,
365 widget.
was it? Weren't those changes to the store done earlier this week though? I don't know if they needed. Yeah, I guess you're right. I
Yeah.
didn't think it was a build itself. I felt like the changes to the store came through its store update, but I think you're absolutely correct. Uh, yeah, so we had a tiny build, which is leading me towards my next discussion, which is: are we expecting a bigger build to finish out the rest of its development? We think that we know that there's supposed to be some Android testing coming to the Microsoft Store. We're also getting notes from, I believe, Windows Central from people they're speaking with that are familiar with um, the matter, are saying that that Windows 11 is close to being finalized, and that makes sense. I mean, they have what, about a month and a half before they're planning on releasing this. So, with that being said, I mean, we should be testing all of any new major features coming to Windows 11 within the next week or two. If they plan to fix any of this stuff, if they're just going to throw it out there and say, "Hey, we'll get around to it when we get around to it," then yeah, we may not be seeing any new builds. But according to Zach Bowden over at Windows Central, he said that Microsoft might announce the GA date for Windows 11 in the next week or two. So, and then sign off on a final build expected in mid-September. If we're betting on this, probably around the same time we're going to be seeing maybe this new Surface Book device in
Yep.
October for a Surface event, or coming alongside some other information we'll talk about later in this podcast about a Surface event slash Windows 11 type get together.
I think they've had a good decent rate of pushing out Windows 11 builds. There's been pretty much one build each week since they've officially announced Windows 11. So this one is number 8, the one that just was released today on Friday.
Are
And
they going to
even
release
though
11 builds?
even who knows, maybe they might. And then the 11th build will finally have the big Android app support just
I hope
because
that's not the last one. I'm hoping that they do it in 8 or 9 so that we can keep testing. And the other thing too, I'm waiting for are some of these. I know that these can be updated separately, but these inbox apps. I mean, we're still waiting for some big changes to come to Mail. I think is one of them.
yep.
What they're going to start doing with the design language for the media player, for photos. I mean, there's still obviously a lot of work to be done. There's some context menus that still need to be adjusted. So hopefully they get around to that.
There's still a lot of work that needs to be done between now and November, but that's what the Windows Insider program is for. They could just ship a basic version and then add more features over time, just like they have with Windows 10.
Yeah, definitely. Like you said, we got from the crappy start menu in Windows 10 when it first launched to what we
Yep,
got at the end through
exactly.
just continuous updating. So keep at it, guys.
And that said, let's move away from Windows and head over to Xbox.
Take a
Gamescom
break and have some
was
fun.
We're gonna talk about some games, and GamesCon was this week, and I know you were following the news closely. And there's some things here about Halo Infinite, Forza Horizon, the new Forza Horizon game, Microsoft Flight Simulator, and XCloud, right?
Yeah, I believe the Halo Infinite information kind of came. They dropped it before
Afterward,
Gamescom.
yeah,
Well, yeah, well, no, it was before. I think it was where they mentioned that multiplayer will be coming later, and
yeah.
that was kind of the big news from that. And they, kind of got that out of the way, took the bad press that it was going to receive, and then kind of went the week after with all the other good news. So again, just as a recap for those of us who were expecting to play, this new multiplayer version that's supposed to be updated, and with new features and things like that. That should be coming sometime around December, I think they said. So the developers 343 announced last week that Halo Infinite won't support co-op campaign, Forge, and the Forge level editor at launch. So even building out the levels yourself will come later down the road. We got a new trailer for it. It was the first free-to-play multiplayer season, kind of a view of that. But other than that, we didn't get any juicy Halo news. We got actually a bunch of other stuff. One of Microsoft's flagship things is Flight Simulator, and that was going to be getting some new maps, some higher fidelity, and they're going to be launching this new world update. I think it's 5 or whatever, which should be bringing a new German planes from the 1930s, a new flight mode, and I forget what the flight mode is called. It's like a competition mode, I think it is.
Local Legends.
Local Legends. There you go. You're the flight simulator guy. Uh, so I mean, you're going to get some more gameplay out of Flight Simulator. And I believe that should start next week, September 7th. Should be the rollout for this world update. So keep an
and
eye out for that.
And they're also bringing helicopters to the game with this Volvo copter. It's a German company who has electric vertical takeoff and landing air taxis. So their product is going to end up in the game, and you'll be able to fly helicopters around. And
Well,
they've
and if you want something, yeah, if you want something with a little more speed, they're also going to be getting a Top Gun Mavericks DLC.
yep, yep.
I guess that's going to coincide with the movie, so that should be fun. You
And
can crash a
for
lot faster like me.
and for people like you and me who don't have a next gen console just yet, they're bringing xCloud to Xbox Series X and S and regular Xbox One consoles this fall.
Yeah, this is again some actually relatively big news because this will elongate the lifespan of anybody on an Xbox One, like you said, like ourselves.
Yep.
What this is basically doing is you're able to stream from your console. Right now, you can stream from your PC, from your tablet, Android tablet, I believe, and your phone, even an iOS tablet. I think if it's on the web, you can stream from all those places. But what if you just want to start playing some next gen games, get a taste for them, get a feel for them on your console now while you're waiting? Maybe they realize that scalpers took everything from all of us and they're abiding their time, letting us at least try this stuff out via the xCloud gaming. So again, if you are if you're a member of Xbox Game Pass
Game
Ultimate
Pass.
subscription, you'll be able to start tapping into this. So again, it's I haven't been able to test it because I don't think it's available just yet. Uh, but I believe it'll basically be like it is for the PC and for the phone. You'll probably get a dedicated app that will then launch into the stream version of your xCloud.
And then they also have had some more news about Forza Horizon 5. It got a lot of stage time during the show itself, and the
Oh,
game
one,
will.
one other thing too,
Oh,
just quick.
go ahead.
The other big benefit is that you'll be able to stream games like Flight Simulator, the medium as well, and these won't take resources from your system. So
Yep,
if you
it's all through
are,
the internet.
yeah, yeah, if you're all packed to the brim with downloads from like Red Dead or something, I think it's 130 gigs, something like that. Or if you already have Flight Simulator on there and you want to try some other games, you don't have to worry about trying to delete, reinstall, kind of stuff like that.
This is game changing, pun intended,
Yes,
right?
big time. Yeah.
And getting back to the Forza Horizon 5 news, when it was revealed back at 3, they had this fabulous footage of going through volcanoes and stuff like that, and that's pretty much what they had again. And they showcased the title cars, the Mercedes AMG 1 and the 2021 Ford Bronco Badlands, and they showcased the Corvette Stingray and other cars flying through the deserts and flying through volcanoes and in jungles, and it's really impressive to see how beautiful this game is. And they announced that, well, they not announced, they just confirmed again that it will be coming to Game Pass on November 9th, but it won't be coming to regular Xbox first gen consoles like you and me. So we really need that Xbox Game Pass feature right away so we won't miss out on these um these new next gen games.
Yeah,
Not
that's
Game
what I'm.
Pass, cloud streaming.
Yeah, that's what I'm banking on. At least until we can start, seeing the consoles readily available for purchase. Because I want to get one. But like you said, they did show off a lot of their gameplay through Mexico. It looks amazing, and they also did some of the cool like Fast and Furious airlifts or
Yep.
airdrop stuff. So you get to see your car kind of get tossed out of the back of a giant plane and kind of land and get a running start. So all that kind of stuff is super cool. I kind of like the way that they're going, the direction they're going in for racing gameplay.
And as if Xbox consoles are not quote unquote limited edition enough because you can't find one anywhere. To celebrate Halo's 20th anniversary, Microsoft will release the first ever limited edition Xbox Series X console, which is inspired by the much anticipated game. It's coming out on November 15th, and the design is inspired by the Halo universe. It's wrapped in dark metallic paneling with iridium gold. There's a custom star pattern from the surface of the Zeta Halo that extends to the top of the console and onto the fan. There's Cortana themes, and there's also a special limited edition controller, and you could pre-order it now for $550. I really hope that Scaples don't mess this up too, because this is a very fancy looking console, and I would try to get my hands on one if I could.
I think at this point we can't even blame scalpers. We got to start blaming the companies. I think
Yeah.
was it Steam or Valve? I guess yeah, Steam. They had a system in place to prevent scalpers from getting the game decks or Steam decks, or whatever they were called. And it was, I mean, it's an involved process, but it at least guarantees that you could, when you put in your credit card information and you go through the entire process, you will be getting something at the end of it versus doing all that entire process and realizing, oh, it was taken 2 hours ago by somebody who bought like 50 of them.
And why don't you get us into our fourth topic now, which is about Panos Panay. I know you follow the man closely and you love everything he makes. So now he
Yeah,
has a new role at Microsoft,
yeah. Panos Panay has been demoted. He's been moved over to the
the
Windows Phone
Windows Phone
division that's
team.
left, that's still left. No, he actually has been promoted. He was not. I mean, his former title was head of Surface before he got this one. Before he got moved over to Windows and Devices. Now he's been promoted to senior leadership team as an executive vice president. And so, his day to day duties, responsibilities, I believe, remain roughly the same. But now he reports directly to Satya Nadella, I believe. It was weird because I felt like they already kind of had that relationship to begin with,
All
but
right.
maybe it was only a relationship. But now the forms of communication are open. It's usually bureaucratic over in Microsoft. You have to talk to your manager before your manager let you talk to somebody else. So he's the manager who talks to Satya Nadella, and maybe he'll start influencing Satya and keeping some consumer products because he seems to be very consumer driven. So we've always had the cloud guy. Maybe the hardware guy can whisper in his ear, keep stuff. The move comes as Microsoft gets ready to push Windows 11 this holiday season, a revamped and rebranded take on Windows 10. Amazon Web Service veteran Charlie Bell is joining Microsoft as well as a corporate vice president. That's another big move that isn't getting as much reporting. The guy who was running the competition for Azure is now part of senior or not senior management, but he's at least a VP in the company. It's unclear what exactly the move means for Panos as far as the day to day, but there are some shifts, and we'll probably be seeing some uh, employees umbrellaed under new management, new team member titles, and things like that. But again, it's all well deserved. I think Panos has been working really hard. We'll see if it is, earned in October and November when they roll out Windows 11 and whatever devices they decide to roll out with this. But it at least signifies that Microsoft is taking Windows seriously, hardware seriously, at least for the time being, and that these divisions, which are under Panos, mean something to the company.
They haven't had a window, quote unquote, Windows guy on the exec board since Terry Myerson, right?
Yeah, was Terry Myerson an exec too?
I think he was on the board before, and he was the last person to be there from the Windows team. So again, those were kind of good days, weren't they? So it shows
Yeah,
that the good old days of Windows are back.
yeah, we love Terry. He was great. He got saddled with
Senior leadership, not the
there we
exec
go.
board. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. So exactly, yeah. Terry Myerson was probably our last, and that was about what 3.5 years ago, 4 years ago.
yeah.
So yeah, we are eager to see what comes of this and who panel starts putting in positions of power to make some decisions.
And that was our last main topic, which means it's time for Kareem's favorite segment, which is the fast recap segment. And in fast recap this week, we have a couple of topics to get to, and I'll let you get started. I'll give you 10 minutes here to get through everything. And we're starting with the news about the White House and big tech promising to raise the bar on cybersecurity.
And here we go. Yeah, it's big promise as of right now. There's been some money pledged. There've been some promises made. But with all that being said, the day after they had this big promise, what happened?
There was like some Azure security flaw. So there you go. It's not exactly a big promise.
I mean, it's a big promise. It's a very hard science, to be honest with you. As you know, I think they had a tech summit when the previous administration was in place. I believe these are just kind of par for the course. There's just this time around, they're talking less about censorship and First Amendment rights, and they're talking more about uh, protecting technologically backed infrastructures. So, we had the heads of Microsoft, Amazon, Google. I don't believe Apple was there, or maybe they were there, but they had some execs to deal with software security probably there, just not Tim Apple. So the White House announced that the National Institute of Standards and Technology would work the tech industry and other partners on assigning and setting up new guidelines for secure technology, including open source software. So Microsoft, who's been championing that, Google, who's also been behind it, Amazon, who is another champion for open source software, is they're all getting backed by not only the money but the U.S. government and how they're going to go about this. Uh, Again, it was only 2 days ago, so we don't know any formal plans. Microsoft hasn't even come out with a. They normally kind of have a raw press release about the meeting. They haven't done that yet. Maybe they're crafting it with their plans ahead, but Google's come out with it. Now, what they've said is that that's why today we're announcing that we will invest 10 billion over the next 5 years to strengthen cybersecurity, including expanding zero trust programs, helping secure the software supply chain, and enhancing open source security. We're also pledging through the Google Career Certificate Program to train 100,000 Americans in fields like IT support, data analytics, learning and demand skills, including data privacy and security. So it isn't just the companies strengthening their own um, software, but building a world of people who can help maintain these things at all different levels, from the local level, from the individual level, to the national security level as well.
And that said, time to move on to the second topic, which is Visual Studio Community 2019 and Visual Studio Code landing in the Windows 11 Microsoft Store. This was available around August 25th. Might have been before, might have been after, but it was spotted by Scott Hanselman, who is a Microsoft employee. He mentioned it, and he said that Windows 11 testers can now download the two apps for free from the Microsoft Store, which should make it more convenient for developers to get their hands on the apps when the OS starts shipping later this year. Again, it's bolstering the Win32 presence in the Microsoft Store. I believe we had OBS Studio as well as Adobe Reader, and yeah, as examples before. So this is probably the third or the fourth or maybe the fifth. Don't quote me on that. Win32 app to be there.
Yeah, it kind of showed up out of nowhere, unannounced. People thought it was a mistake. It seems to be a real thing. Microsoft later released a press piece about it, explaining why it's there. So, yeah, I mean, we hopefully will start seeing the official Office in there as well, and some other, fairly dense Win32 apps in there, and kind of see how they take advantage of the new APIs in the store. That being said, we are moving on to recent Windows 11 surveys about Windows 11 and what people think about it, and if this whole move to the store is even necessary. And according to the survey I believe was done by who was it done by? It's not important right now. I'll come up to it
Windows
later.
Report. Windows Report.
That's a reported. I think the survey was done by somebody else though.
Oh, okay.
Uh, anyway, it's a company that does surveys, and what they're saying is that people are warming up to Windows 11. And I believe the specific numbers were saying that 53% of people surveyed, this is of 11,097 people who were readers of Windows Report. They were there. It was an opt-in survey, so they all chose to. They said that 53% of them believe that Windows 11 looks amazing, quote unquote, and can't wait to install it. So, I mean, that's pretty good. Again, these are people who like Windows. So, if you can't get the people who like Windows off the bat, you're in big trouble. The rest of the breakdown consists of 21% of the same people surveyed saying that it feels pretty similar to Windows 10, and then there was 13% of the same crowd that says that they don't like the look of it and don't plan to upgrade. So Microsoft still has a little bit of work cut out for them to kind of get over the majority market, like 60% for everyone liking it and waiting to install it. We also got some other breakdowns, which is just basically about people still being super confused about TPM 2.0, whether or not their devices meet the requirements, as well as people who were hesitant to leave Windows 7 to when they've been on a system that's been working very well, moving over to Windows 10, and from those same sort of minded people from Windows 10 are very worried about Windows 11 as well. There are some things in the survey saying that people will miss Skype, they will miss the old snipping tool. They're going to miss some of the old stuff. But overall, the survey says Windows 11 is good.
And now onto some more depressing news about Azure and Azure security flaws. It was today on August 27th when Microsoft warned its Azure customers about a vulnerability in Cosmos DB cloud database software after a security company found out that they could access information from thousands of companies. This was first reported by Reuters. And the security company Wiz found out that by exploiting a flaw in Juniper Notebook, which is an open source project that allows document and code sharing via a web browser. They were able to get into these company databases. And Microsoft, you need a key to get into the databases. And Microsoft is telling companies now you need to go get this key and change your keys right away to prevent people from accessing your personal information, basically. So yeah, that's that. The Microsoft is actively working to try and get that fixed.
Yeah, way to be a Debbie Downer. And that's the end of our fast recap.
I think we did it in 10 minutes or less. So
I think so.
no,
I think we're getting pretty good at this. And while we're patting ourselves on the back, we'll talk about the week ahead and give you guys some more information. We have Edge 94 moving to beta. So again, one step closer to those of you who are the very wait and see crowd that they designed this insider setup for. You should be getting probably by the latest next month, so mid September or so. Be getting that, and with that comes some fixes, tons of fixes actually, but some new updates for stuff that you get the added ability to open local HTML files in iOS because they're running the same code across platforms. You get an API. They added an API to WebView 2 for launching the browser task manager. Also, WebView 2 for listening to listen to browsers for exits. Added manager policies to control the settings for Web RTC with respect to the OS. Rounding tables enabled. They've also added URL suggestions to the error pages that result from the mistyped web addresses. So you're getting some, niceties added, but nothing super, big that's going to be game changing, I suppose.
and then in addition to that Microsoft Edge news, we also have some Microsoft Ignite news, and it's coming back as a free digital event on November 2nd to November 4th. This is the IT more focused for IT people, so you could expect some more Teams news and Microsoft 365 news around that time.
Yeah, this is their, like you said, IT cloud and IT security event. So, as we were just talking about their meeting with the White House, we should expect to see what they've how they've marinated on that discussion and what they plan ahead for Azure, what they plan ahead for, you said Microsoft 365, even Office 365, all the things in the cloud, and how developers can secure that and build on that as well. Used to regularly attend in person. I've been online to see the digital versions. I do appreciate that it's a free one because it used to be a pretty expensive in person conference. But I do wish we can get back to the in-person one. So again, if you're an IT developer, if you are working in the cloud, or if you're about to move to the cloud, keep an eye out in November for this.
And what about the bad news for people who still, for some reason, are running iOS 13?
Yeah, the bad news is Microsoft is dropping team support for you. So if you have an iPhone 7. Is that
I
what it
think I
was?
think it's iPhone 6s and older because that yeah.
Yeah, if you have an iPhone 6s or older, go get a new phone. Don't or tell your company to get you a new phone. Otherwise, you won't be able to communicate with them. At least if you're using Teams. So, I mean, at some point, you do have to cut off support, I suppose. Especially for, I mean, but it's weird for iOS because there's only really the one type of operating system plus the one set of devices and screen sizes, which I think haven't really changed since the iPhone 6s or whatever. So, I'm interested in why they cut support at that juncture.
It's probably related to
Yeah,
security and housekeeping and some kind of thing like that.
very true. I mean, is that where? I mean, it's iOS 13, so obviously Apple's cut off support for it.
Yeah.
I guess you'll just follow suit.
And following suit is the big Surface Duo news, and I'll let you get into that.
Yeah, so this is the fun stuff. We saved all the good fun stuff to the very end. So if you're still with us, thank you. Now you're going to be rewarded. We have actually a handful of Duo news that came really roughly today. We got information about the Geekbench scores for the Duo 2. They leaked and they show that it's going to be a high end Android phone. I mean, there's no way to put this. They are getting, I believe, this year's SoC. The numbers are basically in line with, what we've seen for I think it's the Fold as well. And I think one of the One Pluses that came out 2 months ago or something like that. So it's going to be very, fairly fast. And then it's also with that Geekbench, we also got information about the amount of RAM that's coming with it. Some of us speculated they were going to double the RAM and get up to 12, following suit like Samsung, but it doesn't seem necessary. They are going to cap it at 8. And, for any of us who have used Android phones recently, anything over 6 seems to work just as well. Do you have anything to add for it? I mean, we are leaning a lot on our friends, Shane, who
Shane, yep.
covers this a lot, and our friend buddies over at Windows Central who have inside sources. And what they're saying is that not only do we have the overall design of it, the specs as far as the SoC and the RAM, but some other intangibles that haven't been reported on, at least not officially, is the battery size. The battery capacity has been increased, according to Daniel Rubino, in the response he was having with individuals on Twitter. They are expecting that there could be some surprises as far as the screen size. I don't know if they're going to be able to do this through just screen tech, flattening out the screen versus curving it, reducing the bezels somewhat to make it a larger canvas to use. Um, I believe the hinge is going to be reinforced somehow. I don't know exactly what kind of tech they're going to put into that. And what else did they say was going to possibly? Oh, Windows. I mean Android 12. I'll let you kind of get into that.
Yeah, Windows Central talked about this on their podcast, and Shane Craig, our old buddy, was kind enough to watch it, and he tweeted out a bunch of tidbits from the podcast where Zach and Dan talked about the Duo 2, and he said that the Duo 2 is going to get its own launch event. The specs Kareem talked about are indeed real, and that a launch is coming soon, and it will be announced in late September with shipping in October. Quote unquote, the Duo 2 is officially done and production is ready, and the software is set for release. And Zach and Dan also mentioned that there's one big thing that hasn't been leaked yet. And Shane did a bit of his own digging, and he thinks that it could be some changes to the screen where the screen no longer have like the rounded corners, so that would make it seem like it's curved on the inside to make the gap far less noticeable. So basically, making it look closer to Z Fold ish levels where you don't have the annoying gap in between the screen. That's one thing. And then they also talked about how the original Surface Duo will get Android 11 and a brand new Microsoft launcher. So it seems like there's plenty of hope out there in terms of both the way the hardware of the Duo 2 will look, as well as the way that the software will end up shaping up.
Yeah, I mean, you and I have been going back and forth about this on off mic about Android 11, Android 12, and the Microsoft Launcher, and all the work all both companies did to kind of put into this to make it a great device. I've been using a Pixel 4 XL with the Android 12 beta. I think it's Android 12 beta 4.1 or whatever, and it's amazing. I love the launcher. I got used to it. I used to use Microsoft Launcher exclusively on my Samsung devices because their launcher sucked, and I got used to that too. I went back to try and get ready for the Duo by putting the Pixel launcher. I mean, the Microsoft launcher on the Pixel. Did not like it. It was not a long-lived test, and I'm hoping that it seems like they've gone quiet on the Microsoft launcher front. So
Yeah.
I'm hoping with this silence that they've been retooling not only the visual design but some of the features. I know that the Microsoft launcher by itself was very feature packed as far as anybody who was in the Microsoft ecosystem. But if you want to blend the two, I think they need to kind of get in line with what the Pixel is doing. Also, speed up on Android 12 because when Pixel does launch their phone, it'll be probably about a month after, if at the latest, that it's after the Duo. So people are going to want some of those, features, some of the way that the operating system moves and puts things in place, and they're not going to have it. That could be
But
annoying.
like I was telling you off mic, of course, if you use any other launcher on the Surface Duo other than Microsoft Launcher, you're gonna have a really bad time because it's most of these launchers aren't designed for the dual screens, and Microsoft Launcher is the only one that has that special sauce that's able to leverage both screens. So I really do hope that they've come up with some fancy new features here that make the launcher make the Duo more fun to use.
Yeah, I mean, if anything, at least hopefully Google's supporting dual screens because
Yeah.
I love SwiftKey, but I do constantly use the Gboard keyboard, and I have a lot of stuff saved in that. So I'd like to at least be able to use that. If I can't change the launcher, at least you'd be able to use that keyboard. But I'm probably getting ahead of myself. Who knows if I'll even get the Duo too? But that is our Duo news. One other thing, just to mention before we completely wrap this up, is that there are Surface Go 3 rumors.
Yep.
I believe we do have a benchmark for that, and I believe they're using some sort of Intel Adreno chip or something like that. Like they're not using an i5 or an i3. They're using their M3-ish type chipset still, and the benchmark is it's fairly normal. It isn't anything spectacular. I still use the Surface Go 2. It's plenty fast. I'm more concerned about any visual updates,
All
hardware
right.
updates that they
Yeah.
might do. I know that they already support LTE for some things, so maybe bigger battery if they can somehow squeeze that in there, or reduce the bezels somewhat. Just anything like that. But perhaps building on this mobile first kind of thing. We'll see that as part of the Surface Duo event or any of the Surface events or a Surface event in October.
It's shaping up to be a very busy October. Well, might
October and
be
November.
very. We have the Surface Book 4 for one with the massive redesign. We have the Surface Duo 2 with another massive redesign and the camera hump on the back. We have maybe a redesigned I don't think anyone has talked about it, but the redesigned Surface Pro 8 maybe. And then also now we have the Surface Go 3. And
Yep.
I'm not we're not even including the Surface laptop here. So that's like four massively redesigned products and right in time for Windows 11 too.
All surprising during a chip shortage. So maybe they'll introduce these things and be like, oh, you can buy them in January. Good luck.
And that said, we got through all of our topics and some more. And again, as always, we thank you for watching. And I'll leave you for the traditional outro.
Yes, you can find me at Mindhead1 on Twitter. Where can people find you?
A back journ.
Yeah, and for any other news, updates, late breaking stuff that we write about constantly, reviews, giveaways, commentary, editorials, you can reach all that stuff on Microsoft on Twitter as well. I don't believe we have any giveaways, but we do have some editorials coming up. We do have some reviews. We're always reviewing stuff constantly. And again, we believe that there should be some new builds coming out next week that we can write about. We'll see how we continue on the security front for Microsoft. See if if they finally given a solution to what was it, Print
Print
Nightmare?
nightmare. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. With all that being said, thank you guys for joining us for another week of news, and I'm glad that the team is back together.
Yeah.
Missed you, man.
Yeah. Missed you too. All right, everyone. See you again soon. Same place,
Stay
same
safe.
time.